Hello and welcome to Fond Memories. I'm your host Kira Reviewer, and this is where I take an honest look at shows I like and see if they hold up to a critical eye. Starting us off, we have a show that ended after 7 seasons last year in Beyblade Burst, where I'll be commenting on whatever I find interesting. Also note that while in my negative videos the swearing is for impact, here it's just to make sure this content isn't marked as made for kids, so don't take it too seriously.
Welcome to the world of Beyblade.
I will say, I never got the point of this segment. All it tells us is that Beyblade is a sport in this world, and that people are passionate about it. And it's like, yeah, I could have worked that out from the first scene. Why did you need to spell it out for me?
All right! Let's do this thing! You sure you want to challenge me, Rentaro Kiyama, to a battle?
God, I love how these first few lines show us the two characters' personalities very effectively, with them showing Volt as the loudmouth, passionate blader, and Rentaro as the cocky, eccentric blader in such a short amount of time. Just well done to the show on that one.
Volt and Rentaro are gonna battle? This'll be good! Hurry, let's go watch!
I also like how they have these background characters comment on the strength of the two bladers here, to not only show the popularity of blading in this world, but also to hype up Rantaro's strength, since he is Volt's first obstacle, so we need him to feel like a tall order for Volt to get us rooting for him.
How can he be that fast?
I like the fact that they establish Valtryek's speed with a flat launch all the way back here, since it is pretty good foreshadowing for the flash launch, while they also use this as a moment to set up Volt's arc about controlling his bay when it flies out of the stadium. Also, I do like Volt losing control of Valtryek, even though he's had it for a while, because it really well establishes the precision required in blading, something that a lot of later seasons don't really do much with.
Dance! I'm gonna turn things around! Just you watch!
It's also cool that they establish Volt being bad at dealing with trash talk here, because while they don't do much with it in this scene, it is something they explore a lot throughout this season and even later seasons, so it's good of them to set it up now.
Valtryek! You okay? You're not hurt, are you?
Good of them to also set up Volt's connection with his bay, since it does factor into the end of this episode, but they can't really explore it in the middle, since that is more about his launch than his bay, so good of them to show it now.
Put everything back the way it was.
Oh, man!
Also, it is kind of funny to me that this season actually lets the school have a bit of authority over the kids, since they kind of abandoned that thing after Turbo.
I'll tell you why. It's 'cause I, Rentaro Kiyama, am the greatest! I'm known as Head Honcho! People love me!
And here we've got them reinforcing Rantaro's cockiness. I don't really love this moment since it's a bit on the nose, and they already established this at the start of this episode pretty well. But hey, I guess they do something new with it, since they introduce Rantaro's nickname, which basically becomes his name for the rest of his existence.
Beyblade, I'll give you that. But hey, you don't have any of the fundamentals down. You go on and on about how much you like the game. But it's all just talk.
I also like this back and forth between them, because it does show how being passionate about something and being good at something are two separate things, which is a pretty good lesson to impart.
I mean, aren't Bay battles just about pulling it like this and letting it go?
I forgot that they introduced Volt's onomatopoeia spam all the way back here. Crazy how they managed to integrate it so well.
Many are calling him the most talented blader to emerge in over a decade.
I will say, this line comes off as weird considering this is the country with Louis Shirosagi, you know, a blader who has won 4 national tournaments without dropping a single point. But I get that here they are trying to make Shu seem strong, and Louis comes far later, so obviously this line wouldn't be contradicted for some time. But the show doesn't really have many continuity errors, so I gotta hit them whenever I can.
Yeah, whatever. We get it. Shu's the greatest. Tired of hearing about it all the time.
Kinda fucking hypocritical of you to say, coming from the guy who just talked about how great he was for ages, but all good, Hancha.
Quite the Beyblade prodigy.
This is a cool line to throw in now, because next episode we learn that he is the exact opposite of a prodigy. So it's cool to show how to someone on the outside Shu looks like a prodigy, but in reality, he's just working really hard.
What she said!
Kid's got ants in his pants.
It looks even worse than it was before.
How did I get myself into this mess?
Also, that is such a great delivery from Matt Hill.
The fun! The mentals! 3,
Embarrassing. He thinks that having muscles is gonna help him with the fundamentals? Looks like.
It is kind of a good thing to bring up as well, that you can practice all you want, but if you don't know what you need to improve, you aren't going to get any better. Again, shame that this isn't pushed throughout the show, because this is a good thing to teach people.
Shoo!
This scene does a really good job of not only establishing Volt and Shu's goal that they work toward throughout the series, and that even comes back in the next season, but it also shows their friendship in a compelling way, and even gives us some exposition about Shu in a creative way. Honestly, I'm finding out I like this episode way more than I thought I did.
Seriously, your opponent was like mega tough.
Although, I get that he's just trying to be supportive, but his opponent didn't really look that tough to me. He just kind of launched. It doesn't really show that he's particularly good.
If you want to get better at something, you have to give it your all. Hard work, right? Yeah. Keep it up, Volt.
It's also really cool how they establish how supportive Volt's mom is in a very concise manner. Cool of them to show almost all of Volt's future opponents now when they aren't relevant yet. It just makes them feel more familiar when they show up than if they just appear when they are relevant to the plot.
Tough break, Vault. Seriously, who'd have thought I'd be your first opponent? You don't stand a chance, my friend. Not against my Rocktavore!
This is actually a pretty good jab, and while Volt facing Rantaro seems like a contrivance, I don't really think that it is, because it's decently well justified within the narrative, since it is a tournament and these are the kind of things that just happen sometimes, and besides, even if it was, this episode more than makes up for it.
A survivor finish or ring out finish is each worth 1 point. A burst finish earns 2 points.
Also, this is a nice way to deliver some exposition about the points system of this series, since it makes sense that they would explain the rules before the tournament kicks off.
Both players, inspect your opponent's bay.
This inspect your opponent's bay thing is always fucking pointless, and it often serves just to waste our time. Like, people never come up with a strategy based on this inspection, and they still get surprised by each other's gimmicks in later seasons, even though they logically should have identified them during the inspection.
So, you managed to land it properly this time. That's a first, isn't it?
There's actually some pretty good trash talk from Rantaro, and it helps really establish him as a threat, which is good considering he's the first actual opponent Volt has in the series.
Its heavyweight disc and sharply pointed tip are keeping the spin lightning quick.
Kind of a funny line to me, considering the English dub in the later seasons never really acknowledges stuff like that, but I'll explain that more when we get to it.
Alright, Rocktavore, let's do this!
It is kind of weird to me how Volt's first opponent to use a move on him is Hoji, even though in all the battles in the district tournament, there are moments where characters are clearly using techniques that later are named. Here, Rantaro is clearly using Rocktavore Zone. And yet he doesn't say the name of the move.
Rocktavore's disc has a gravity feature that keeps it spinning no matter what!
What do you mean feature? It's just a normal forge disc. It doesn't even have a perfectly circular shape. I would think he would talk about, the weight, since gravity was the heaviest disc in the Dual Layer series, but that line would imply it has an ability, which the rest of the show and real life proves that it doesn't.
Oh man! You're not kidding! That thing is intense!
Great to show Volt's passion for the game, since even when he's losing, he's happy, which shows that he likes the game itself, not being good at it, which makes him a good contrast to characters like Louie, Free, and Red Eye later on. So this is more of a Volt thing than a this episode thing, but I like how Volt's resonance is a bit more subtle throughout the 2 seasons he's the protagonist, whereas every other main character afterward gets chats from their bays way more often and have hair gimmicks to really show you exactly how powerful they are. To be clear though, there are some things I like about the later main characters, but this subtlety is just something I prefer more.
He tilted his launcher.
Sorry to cut in with this, but I just fucking love that delivery from Anthony Kim.
Of course.
Also, this is a good way to frame this exposition around the Rush launch as Shu figuring it out for himself, rather than him telling someone, which is typical for this kind of exposition throughout the series.
Hang in there, Rockmore! We can still do this!
Did you get annoyed when the show doesn't do the power-up fly around the blader then the bay when doing the Avatar coming out? Like, I know it might be to save money, but to be fair, it is a goddamn bank animation, so why would you not use it every time? Because it just makes the battle seem less intense, since it looks like Rantaro isn't giving it his all here. Also, that burst animation is so satisfying, man, I'm sorry.
Yeah, alright!
A burst finish! Valtryek turns the tables and wins!
He won! He won! He won! Did you see that rush launch? His burst finish was the coolest!
Also, this is so impressive from Sabina Petra, probably butchered that too, considering she voices both of these characters, so she manages to do this line while trying to do two voices. Like, it is genuinely impressive how she manages to not only do a good job of voicing Toka and Nika, but also Volt himself.
Yeah, but listen, one of these days, I'm gonna get a rematch and I'm gonna win. Till then, don't let anyone else take you down, okay?
This is a great moment, both because it's a good reason for Rantaro to join Volt's side as a support, and it also shows humility in him, which is something Volt learns next episode, so good to set it up now. So, overall, episode 1 is great. It does a really good job of establishing Volt as a character, as well as some others like Rantaro and Shu, and it delivers its necessary exposition in creative ways. This is the template for a good episode 1 of a series, and honestly, it is truly a shame how this is the exception rather than the rule when it comes to shows. Still, see you guys later.